I'm Emma, aka Midsummer Knit Stream, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I've been wanting to start this channel for a while, so I'm really excited to be here talking to you about knitting and showing you my knits from the last 6 months. So I've seen a couple of videos similar to this on YouTube, where YouTubers are showing their knits from the past few months, or from the past year, and it's been kind of a funny experience because I see these videos and they're all like an hour long, and these creators are trying on like 30 different things they've made in the last year. So I just want to start off with a disclaimer saying that my video is not going to be like that. I have the pile of FOs right here, and it's not that big. To be honest, I'm not the fastest knitter, and I also am a big perfectionist, so if I'm not happy with how something is coming out or how it's fitting me, I'm going to pull it out and redo. And for that reason, I just don't have as many FOs as some of these other YouTubers, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just wanted to bring it to attention and say that I'm not going to have as many FOs and I'm not going to have like an hour-long video, but I am still really excited to be showing you all these FOs. So before I get into the projects, I just wanted to give you a little bit of backstory. I don't really think it's necessary, but it could help you to understand why I'm saying certain things, or just understand me better as a knitter, I suppose. So I actually learned how to knit when I was very young. My mom taught me when I was 6, and from that point on I was actually pretty obsessed with knitting and sort of fiber arts. Basically my entire childhood and middle school years I was very, very into knitting and the fiber arts. I actually had a knitting blog, it was called A Twisted Stitcher, and I also was very active on Ravelry, which is the sort of knitting social media website. And throughout high school and college, knitting sort of fell to the wayside just because I was a lot more busy academically. I had a couple of projects here and there, but I was never really knitting constantly the way that I used to be. And now that I'm 24 years old, I have a bit more free time. I do have a 9-to-5 job, but aside from that, you know, there's not as much that I'm working on the way that I was in high school and college. So knitting has sort of come back into my life. And this first project that I'm going to show you is a pair of socks that I made in February, and these are sort of the project that got me really back obsessed with knitting again. And the other thing was getting on the knitting side of Instagram. I finally made just a knitting Instagram account or Knitstagram account dedicated specifically to showing off my knitting, and I think that was a really big part because I was able to be part of a community again. So I guess this disclaimer wasn't really necessary, but I wanted to explain a little bit of why I'm going to be saying certain things like, oh, I hadn't knit that in a really long time. That's sort of the reason. I haven't been knitting for a long time, but I'm so excited to be back into it now. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into my first project. So the first knit that I finished in the last 6 months is actually a pair of socks. This is kind of a funny one because I feel like after making a knitting Instagram account or Knitstagram account and seeing what other people are making, not many people are making socks. I guess it's not really like a trendy or cool thing to do. But with that being said, I still really like making them. I think it's a fun project for when you don't want to make a garment, as in like a sweater or a tank top or anything, because those can take a lot more focus. You really have to make sure the fit is perfect. For socks, it's a lot more of like a simple basic formula. They still can take a while because they are made with fingering weight yarn typically and very small needles, but I think it's kind of fun. Like, I kind of like making small and intricate things. This pair of socks in particular is very small and intricate. I'm gonna show some try-on clips as well, hopefully overlaid here somewhere, but these socks are very detailed cabled socks with twisted stitches as well. Actually, if you knew me back when I knitted a lot in middle school, my username was called A Twisted Stitcher because I really liked twisted stitches. I think they pop really nicely and just give a really nice detail to the fabric. So this pair of socks, the pattern is called Liesl by Sharon Gerstmann, which is actually really funny because my sister's named Liesl, but I didn't make these socks for her, I made them for myself. But yeah, I really loved this pair of socks. I actually made it for the most part while I was watching a TV show, and I just paid a bit more attention to the socks as opposed to the TV show. But I really liked making these. I think they're just a really fun project. I think socks are a really fun challenge to take on, especially if you're more of a beginner knitter and you've knit a couple of things. Socks could be a really fun thing for you to take on next. They might not be sort of like the sexiest finished object, but I really like them, and I think I want to be knitting a lot more socks in the future as well. After I made the liesl socks, I made my Knitstagram, and it was really fun interacting with other knitters, especially knitters that are closer to my age, and making sort of like these really cool stylish tops. I think I got a lot of inspiration from that because before making my Instagram, I didn't really have a lot of like knitting friends. A lot of the friends I had made on Ravelry from middle school were not as active anymore, and making this Instagram just gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of other knitters my age and sort of see what they're working on and be inspired by them. So my next project is a project that I saw all over Instagram. It's called the Made You Look top by Vanessa Fleming. It's a pretty simple knit tank top. So it has twisted rib at the bottom, and then it turns into stockinette in this sort of like boob chest part. And then it's actually just knit straight up, and there's an I-cord that is threaded through this top part that holds it up. So it's a very simple knit. I actually would really recommend this for beginners, just in terms of how it's constructed, because it's pretty simple to make. And I really like how it came out. Another thing is I ended up seaming up the back. So in the pattern, Vanessa says there's a few different options for how you can do the back. You can do a button up or a lace up, or her recommendations, as well as she mentions you can seam the back, but I believe like the button and lace up are the options that more people go with. I actually really wanted to do a lace up back. I thought that would look really cool, but it turns out I didn't make this tank top tight enough so that I could do a lace up back, because if I tried doing the lace up back, and I basically would have needed the lace up to be completely closed for the tank top to fit me, so it just wouldn't have even really added any details to the piece, and it wouldn't have looked very good, so I ended up just seaming up the back instead. One more fun fact about this top is that I used completely the wrong weight of yarn. I got DK and Aran weight mixed up, which is something that I feel like I shouldn't get mixed up as more of a veteran knitter, I guess you could call me. But I just completely used the wrong weight of yarn, and I actually ended up switching the needle size for this tank top so that I could reach gauge without realizing I had chosen the wrong weight of yarn. And so it actually turned out fine, which I think is pretty funny. So in April I started my next project, which is the one that I want cropped by Lily Kate France. I absolutely love her as a designer. I think she is my favorite designer in the world. We're actually the same age, and her and I met on Ravelry when we were both a lot younger, so I've been following her for a long time, but I love all of her designs. I think she's really brilliant. This design in particular I love as well. It is knit from side to side as opposed to bottom up or top down, and it's knit using garter stitch. So garter stitch is not something I would normally sort of reach for in my knitting repertoire. I hope I said that right. I sort of prefer ribbing or stockinette stitch, which I think are more frequently used in patterns, but garter stitch is something that I just don't normally reach for. It's not something I have really used since I was more of a beginner knitter, but I really love how it looks in this pattern, especially given the fact that it's knitted from side to side. I think the garter stitch provides an interesting texture. Another thing is there are crocheted little sort of like shell shapes on the edgings of this tank top, which I think is so unique and beautiful. I definitely struggled a little bit with these as I'm a very beginner crocheter, but I ended up being able to do them in the end. I think they look so beautiful. This is definitely one of my favorite projects. I think probably my favorite projects from the last 6 months. It was just so enjoyable to knit, and it turned out so beautifully, and I would definitely make another one, but I probably don't need another one in my wardrobe, so maybe for a friend. After the one that I want crop, I really just wanted like a small project that I could complete quickly and also get through some leftovers, because at this point I was having a lot of leftovers starting to pile up. So using the same yarn that I used for my Made You Look top, I decided to make a little scrunchie. This was just a fun little project. It only takes a couple of hours, so this was a really fun one. I would definitely recommend this project for beginners because you're kind of just knitting in stockinette stitch. If you know how to knit in purl, you can do that. You're knitting basically this long like donut shape, which you then are going to seam around a hair tie. So I think the trickiest part of this one for a beginner might be like the mattress stitch seaming, but yeah, I think this was a really fun, quick project. I'm definitely going to continue to do this with some of my other leftovers, just because I think it's pretty cool to have a hair tie or scrunchie that's matching a top that you made, and it was just like a fun project that went by really quickly, so Also a good gift idea. So in May, after I finished that little scrunchie, I decided to do a test knit for a designer I found on Instagram. Her name is Bronwyn, I hope I'm saying that right, or Bryn Knits. But I saw this design and I just thought it was so unique and so cool. It also has a couple of techniques that I haven't used in a while, so I decided to sign up for the test knit. So the really cool thing about this sweater or blouse pattern is that it has two different yarns. So the sleeves are done in mohair, and then the body is done in just a worsted weight and is ribbed. So I really liked the contrast of textures between the sleeves and the body. Another fun thing about this one is that the yoke of the sweater is knit flat and knit with using intarsia. This is my first time doing intarsia in a very long time, and I definitely struggled with it a lot. This project I had to frog a couple of different times just because I made a lot of mistakes and I wanted to fix them. The pattern itself is wonderful, by the way. It's coming out really soon, so you should definitely buy it when it comes out if you're interested in making this. But I really thought it was a cool project. Another cool thing is, since the top part, the yoke, is knit flat, there is like this gap in the back of the sweater, which you can choose to do whatever you want with it. I made it a lace-up for now, but you could also do buttons, or you could just seam it shut. I might actually switch mine to buttons later on because I wanted to do buttons originally, but I hadn't bought buttons in time, so that's why I did a lace-up. Yeah, and I think this is a really beautiful sweater. It's just very unique in my mind compared to other knitting patterns that I've seen. I think just the contrast of textures is really cool. You can also do different colors for the sleeves and the body. I decided to do mine a monochrome sort of version, but other people did different colors and it looked really cool. Bronwyn herself, her version has different colors for the sleeves and the body, and it has like these beautiful stripes on the sleeves. And yeah, I like how this project came out a lot. Again, like I mentioned, it was a little bit of a struggle, but I think I learned a lot, and I had such a great experience test knitting as well, so really happy with this one. So the cicely blouse is the most recent FO that I've finished, but in addition to that, I've been working on one big project this entire time. I'm working on a beekeeper's quilt. So basically, this project consists of lots of very small hexagons. As you can see, these are really tiny. They're made with fingering weight yarn. So each one takes about 45 minutes and you need hundreds of these to make a blanket. I've been working on this project since, technically I did a couple in 2018, but I really started the project in earnest in 2020 during the pandemic. So I've been working on this project for a few years now. At this point I have around 350 hexagons. I think I'm gonna try and knit closer to 400 before I test out the size again, since I tested the size when I was around 300 hexagons and I didn't have quite enough. Another really important thing to note here is that my grandma has helped me a ton with this project since she also knits. She's knit around 150 of those 350 hexagons that I have, so I really owe her a big thank you. So in the last 6 months, I've made about 50 of these hexagons. Like I mentioned, each of these takes 30 to 45 minutes to make, so definitely a lot of time spent on this project, but without much to show for it since I'm not able to finish this project yet. This has been a fun project. I'm really excited to be working on it and excited to be done with it eventually, but honestly the process is just as much fun as the finished object will be special to me, I think. Yeah, like I mentioned, my grandma has helped me and my mom has also made a few, so I think this will be a really special project to finish as well because it's sort of like a family heirloom, just in that multiple generations of people helped me with it. I'm really excited to be making progress on it and just to be enjoying the process. So that is it for my FOs in the last 6 months. But I actually wanted to show you something I'm working on right now because I'm really excited about it. And I'm hoping it'll be an FO, you know, in the next few days, but we'll see. It depends on if I have to frog again. So I've been working on this tank top. It's called the 8 PM tank by Tiff Knit on Instagram. I really love this design. I think it's incredibly unique. So we have this interesting design where there are cups formed around the bust, and beneath those cups is ribbing, and above those cups is stockinette stitch. Another interesting thing is this sort of like under bust edge. It's really cool to make. So you basically make it by knitting 6 rows, and then after that point you pick up the stitches from the first row, you knit them together with the current row. So you're sort of seaming the edge of your knitting back down with the beginning, if that makes sense. Anyways, I thought this was a really, really cool design, so I've been wanting to make this for months. I finally cast on and I've been really having a lot of fun with this one. I knit it mostly on vacation. I went to Florida recently and got a lot of progress done on that. Yeah, I'm just gonna show this one because I'm super excited about it and I can't wait for it to be done. Okay, so that is it for my FOs for the last 6 months, as well as a couple of works in progress. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. Like I mentioned a couple of times, this is my first YouTube video, and I'm really excited to be here. I have a lot of other video ideas that I'm hoping to post over the next few weeks or months. I'm really hoping to be somewhat consistent about posting videos, but I also have a couple of vacations planned and things coming up, so we'll see how consistent I can be. But definitely let me know if you enjoyed this video, other videos you'd like to see next. I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.